Patty, and today we're going to make a no-sew t-shirt bag. So to do this project, what you're going to need is, of course, first a t-shirt. This is actually a youth medium t-shirt. You can use a bigger size or whatever size you would like. This just happened to be what I had on hand here that I could use. And it will make a smaller bag, so just keep that in mind. When choosing a t-shirt, you can either just choose something old that has some image on it you don't like, because you can always turn it inside out where you don't see the image on your bag, or you can use a shirt with an image that you would like to be on the front of your bag. So I have my t-shirt. Next, you need to make sure you have a good sharp pair of scissors. If you have fabric scissors, that's even better. It helps to have a ruler, and you want to have a marker or a pen to mark on your bag. So to get started, the first thing you're going to need to do is to make some cuts to your t-shirt. So here's my t-shirt. I'm going to cut off the sleeves. I'm going to cut off the neckline, and then I'm also going to cut off this bottom hem. So to start, here I go. I'm going to cut my sleeves off. Now I'm going to cut so that I am cutting off the seam here completely, but I'm going to just follow that seam line along that cut. But you don't need the seam on there. You want to actually cut that off. So here's one arm. And you don't have to be completely perfect with your cuts. It's really not going to show the minor details. So now I have my sleeves off. Now I want to cut my neckline. Now when cutting your neckline is actually going to be where you have your opening to your bag. So you don't want to just cut it as small as a neckline. You might want to go a little wider, and you might want to go a little deeper. So I'm going to go just a little bit wider than the neckline, and I'm going to go a bit deeper as well. And if you need a guide, you can always use something like a bowl. I'm just kind of freehanding it. It seems to work pretty well. But now you can see I have a nice U-shape cut on the top of my shirt. And then my last cut is going to be the hemline. And that's only because when you make your cuts for your fringe, it kind of leaves a weird bottom tip. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut it off, and I'm cutting right alongside that hemline. Now watch your fingers when you're cutting. You don't want to cut your fingers with these scissors. So now I have my t-shirt all cut. That's all the cuts that I need to do. Now, if you're going to use the image on your bag, you want to turn your t-shirt inside out. So this one I made with not an image, it's on the inside. At that point I would leave my shirt this way and make my marks, but because I'm going to use this one and just keep the image on this one just to show you how you might want to do yours. So I'm going to turn it inside out. And you're only turning it inside out to make your lines and make your cuts, and then you would turn it right side out. So I'm going to make it, I want to get it kind of laying flat. Pull it, because I want to get a straight bottom line here. Okay. Like I said, you can see mine's not exactly perfect, but it's not going to matter. So the only reason I said that you might want a ruler and a marker or pen is because you're going to cut your fringe strips, and I like to have a guide for I know how long to cut them. Now if you want fringe kind of like this, how I have, this is making 4-inch cuts. I think on this one I'm going to go a little bit shorter, and I think I'm actually going to go with just a 3-inch fringe, just to see the difference of how it's going to look. So you want to just make sure you have your bag flat. I'm just going to mark, and I'm just going to use this Sharpie to make it easier. I'm just going to make marks at 3 inches roughly, and then with my ruler. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to match up those marks, and I'm just going to draw a line. This is just for me, for I know this is my cutting line. That's where I'm going to cut up to. These are the way. So now you can see I have a line on my t-shirt bag. So the first cut you're going to want to make is you need to cut your sides, because this is essentially going to be a tie And so you need to cut the sides. So I'm going to make my first cut on my sides. I'm going to cut both sides. And so you can see it's cut. The next step is to make your cuts for your fringe. And you can make them as wide as or thick as you want. This is, it's a little under an inch. It's like 3/4 of an inch. I didn't measure mine. I don't think you really need to. I think it looks fine, just kind of eyeballing it. So depending on how thick you want your fringe pieces to be, I would say keep it under an inch. If you want a little wider, you could go a little wider. It doesn't really matter, but I like to keep mine under an inch. Now, the smaller you make them, the more tying you're going to do. The bigger you make them, the less tying you're going to do. But you're also going to want to make sure you don't tie too big of ones, because then you're going to have bigger gaps in the bottom of your bag. So you're just going to make your cuts and cut all your fringe strips. So you can see I've cut a couple. I'm cutting through both pieces of fabric, and so I have 2 strips here because these 2 strips are going to be tied together and they match up perfectly. So I'm going to continue to cut my fringe, and sometimes you might go a little over your line. It's okay, it happens. It's not going to be completely perfect. And you'll notice, if any of you have done any of those no-sew fleece blankets, this is kind of the same concept. You're cutting fringe to tie. Essentially, you're just going to tie these little strips together. So I'm finished cutting them. Sorry, it's a little loud. I'm kind of resting this on the table to make it easy to keep my fabric flat. Almost there. A few more here to cut. And on the end, like I said, they should line up and be matched perfectly, but if not, it's okay. Your bag doesn't have to be perfect. So now I have all my fringe pieces are cut. Now at this point, because I'm going to use my image on the outside of my bag, I'm going to turn my bag inside out. That's why I had you draw your line on the inside, or on the other side, and didn't turn it inside out. So now I have my image here. I have my bag. You want to kind of shake it, get it all flat, and then you're going to take your 2 pieces that were your starting point, and you're just simply going to tie them. And you're going to tie them once, and then you're going to tie them twice. You don't have to pull too hard on that first tie. You do want to pull a little bit tighter on that second tie, because you don't want to pull the pieces too close together for the next pieces. So then I'm going to just tie my next piece. So that's all I'm doing, as I'm taking my bottom piece, my top piece, and I'm tying them together. It's just that simple. So I'm doing 2 knots per fringe piece. So I'm going to continue along and tie the rest of my fringe. So you can see I'm almost done tying. I have a few more ties to make, and I just want to show you, once you finish, like I said, you're double knotting all of them, your last few. The bag does have like small holes in the bottom. The tighter you tie your ties together, between each tie and how tight you pull that first knot is going to determine how big a hole those are. So you do want to make sure they're going to be tight enough so you're not going to have stuff slipping out of your bag, which mine are pretty tight. You can't really see a whole lot. But you can see this is my finished product. I have my image on the front. I have my fringe. You can see this fringe is a little bit shorter than this fringe. So that's kind of how it looks. And also, if you don't want to have fringe on the outside of your bag like this, so say you're just not into the fringe, you could have done your bag inside out, had left it the other direction and tied it, and then had your ties on the inside, if that makes sense. So if you don't like the ties, you can always flip it around. But again, you got to keep that in mind when you're doing your marks for you don't see no pin mark. You can see there's a little bit of pin mark, you don't really see it too much, but to where if you want your image on the inside outside. So those are just things to consider. But this is my inside of my bag. You can see the kind of help see the knots. You can see there are some small spaces, but it's a pretty nice bag that you can reuse, wash, and reuse again. So that's how you make your no-sew t-shirt bag. There's going to be a post of the directions along with this video, so you can follow along on the directions and see exactly how to make this t-shirt bag in case you missed anything in the video. But that's how you make a no-sew t-shirt bag. I hope you enjoyed this.